This happened back in 1998. I still remember it like it was yesterday. I worked at a clothing store in a major city during my summers home from college. I always parked in a nearby parking garage and had been doing so for a long time. I liked it because it usually wasn't very busy, so I could get a good spot and didn't have to worry about traffic. On this night, I did what I always did and took the elevator up to the third floor and into the little lobby area. I know I could have taken the stairs, but after an 8-hour shift on my feet, I was lazy. When I opened the door leading to the parking area, I saw my car, which was in the corner, but I also saw another car parked across from it and at least 5 grown men standing around my car. I just had a bad feeling about it, and I immediately turned around and went back in the elevator area. I'm not sure if the men saw me or not. I went back down out of the building and left. I walked to a nearby drugstore and sat inside and called my dad. Now our house was only about 10 minutes away, and he offered to come and pick me up and drive me to my car. I said yes, and when he got there, I told him where my car was parked, and we drove into the garage. When we arrived at my car, I saw that all of the men were now gone, as well as the other car. But all of the wheels on my car had been removed, and the windows were smashed. We called the police, and they came and took down the information. I had to get a new car after that, but I'm really glad I didn't walk in when I first saw the men. One day, I had to pick up my friend from college. He attended a major university that was located in a large city, and after arriving too early, I couldn't find a place to park on the street, so I went to a parking garage. The parking was free for the first hour, so that was a good deal. I drove up to try to find a quiet area with no other cars so I could just chill on my phone. The garage was not that busy, but did have several cars parked here and there. I went all the way to the top floor, which was probably the 4th or the 5th. I pulled into a spot and texted my friend to see how much longer he would be. Then, I heard the noise of tires screeching and a car speeding from below. The sound got louder and louder and eventually came up to my level. I watched as the car sped up to the level at a very fast speed and drove to the end right next to me. Then the car immediately pulled out and began speeding away. I saw tire marks on the ground from the car as it drove off. It was extremely loud. I figured it was a crazy college kid taking a joyride. The screeches got farther and farther away with each level that it went down. Then, about 3 floors below me, I heard the sound of a loud crashing and glass breaking. The car had crashed into another one. I cringed as I heard the sound. I figured I should go down and see if everyone was all right. So I drove a couple of levels down and was bracing myself for an ugly scene. But when I got to the bottom level, there was nothing there. Just a couple of parked cars. I even drove out of the garage and looked outside to see nothing out of the ordinary. I drove back in again to double check, and there was still no sign of a crash. I left the garage and parked someplace else farther away. That is one of the most strangest moments of my life. This story took place last year. I work in a major city, and I park in a parking garage for my job. After a long day at the office one Friday, I didn't get off work until about 9 p.m. After wrapping up, I got my things and walked to the office parking garage. I parked on the 4th level, which I like to park on every day. It was just a routine for me. It was pretty dark in the garage, and I headed to my car, which was a 2015 Buick Enclave. The garage was nearly empty at this time. Only about 5 cars remained on that level. I walked to my car, and when I got there, I unlocked it and got in. I started the engine and headed home. As I started to drive home, I thought I heard noise coming from the back of my car. I ignored it completely and kept driving. A couple of minutes later, I heard it again. This time, I looked behind me. To my surprise, I saw something that didn't look familiar to me. It took me a couple of seconds to realize what it was. Then I was able to make it out. Hiding behind my back seats was a man. As soon as I noticed, without even thinking, I pulled the car over to the side of the road and quickly got out of the car and ran away. I was still in the city, so there was buildings around and several people walking. They looked at me like I was crazy, but I took out my phone and called the police. The man did not get out of the car. I looked back and saw my car start to drive away. My car was being stolen. I didn't know if it was a bad move for me to get out of my car or not, because now I had lost it, but at least I was all right. I had to call a friend to come pick me up and give me a ride home. We reported the car stolen, and it took about a week, but the car was eventually located. I will never forget that incident. One night, I attended a Major League Baseball game. After the game was over, I didn't want to get stuck in traffic, so I decided to walk around the city for a little while. After almost an hour, things calmed down, and I decided to head back to my car. I hadn't meant to walk for so long, but I got sidetracked by visiting some of my old favorite buildings, which were farther away. When I finally got back to the parking garage that I had parked in, it was pretty much dead. I parked my car up a few levels, and when I entered the stairs, I saw a man next to the wall with his hand on the side of it. He had long hair, was fairly tall, and was smoking a cigarette. He looked at me as I walked in, but not a friendly look. It was more of a glare. I didn't really know what he was doing just standing there, but I walked past him and went up the stairs. As I got up about 2 floors, I realized that the man had begun to go up the stairs as well. I couldn't see him, but I heard him walking up. I continued walking and finally reached my level. I left the stair area and walked into the parking garage. I was about halfway to my car when I heard the door behind me open and shut. Then I heard the sound of someone running behind me. I turned around to see the man charging at me. For a split second, I had no idea what to do. Finally, I decided to run for my car. I turned and ran as fast as I could. I got about 5 feet from my car when I felt the man grab my shoulders. He tackled me to the ground and then got on top of me and started punching me. I did my best to block his punches with my arms. I shouted and tried my best to overpower the man. I was able to kick my legs and make him lose balance slightly. We struggled for a few seconds, and then I was able to knock the man over completely by kicking his legs again. I scrambled up to my feet and jumped in my car. He got his arm in the door, but I was able to knock it away just enough to shut it and lock it. I wasted no time in driving away. Of course, the man hit my car as I did, but I was happy to be alive and for the most part uninjured. I don't know why exactly the man attacked me, because he didn't take my wallet or anything, but I haven't parked in that garage since.